My passion for young people, and particularly in the whole arena of family, is I'm very passionate about restoring. See, not only families restored, but young people that make all kinds of decisions that they struggle with for whatever reasons, whether their background, whether their age. I think to me it's a pretty powerful process where everyone's involved. People are able to really speak their feelings, and when you deal with emotions, it's you really get to the root of some things, because I believe that nobody is, most of us are not very good at expressing emotions. We take a long time to get in any arena, whether it's counselling, whether it takes a long time to get deep down to people's emotions, and I think getting down into that area. I found this process of restorative justice very refreshing, very needy, very purposeful, and I must say I enjoyed what I learned yesterday, the things that I learned yesterday.
Thank you.
What we were expecting was, we had already ventured into restorative justice. We knew about the practice and the principles. Technically, we suspected we were a little bit off the mark, and what I think Margaret's been able to do is actually help us to get the tools in place and actually get us to have deeper thinking around the practice itself. So, learning about the preparation time, I think that's enlightening for us to say we need to put some effort into that upfront preparation. When we're time poor, that's often the part that gets shortened and becomes more of an informal. And knowing that for serious matters, you do have to have that formalised approach, and in that you do have to actually donate time to. And you do have to understand where everyone's coming from before you even get into the restorative justice conferencing. Look, we've had about 20 of my staff here, and I would say 10 of them have come up and said, "This is excellent. We are going to so use ticks a lot of boxes," because you're always, what it's going to be about, but they can read about it, but until they get into it, you're not sure how they're going to take it and how they're going to apply it on the ground, which is more of what I'm after. And a lot of those comments were about, we can apply this, which I'm really sensitive about. How do we embed this in the practice? And having that knowledge now filter through them, and them wanting to do it, they're just seeking other alternatives. We've been we've done trauma-informed training and practices, and tried to embed that into our service. But we need to actually be monitoring that and make sure we're doing that. So the work we talked about this morning on the frontal lobe and all that, and that executive control. How do we make sure we're actually inspiring or helping develop that, helping people to self-regulate? So we thought we might set some targets around that. We haven't yet decided what we're going to do yet, but we'll take on board all the training we've got and sit down and have a talk with all the staff and hopefully come up with some way of measuring that for us.
Well, I guess coming into the training, I had a bit of an idea of what I thought restorative justice might look like. I suppose my preference, or where I would go to in a situation that was stressful or impacting or needing mediation, was probably more the punitive, and that's probably cultural. So coming in, I thought restorative justice was probably to satisfy the victim, and after doing the training, it's really changed my perception on the purpose of restorative justice, and it's not just about punishment for the wrongdoer, but really it's just about restoring relationships and the balance in a particular community, which even alongside punitive, which may still need to happen, punitive justice doesn't actually restore community or relationships, so it's a way to do both. And as humans, what's more important? How do we come back into that space and work together? I guess that's the main thing for me that I've found. I'm going to be working within a local high school to where I live, and supporting students who may be on a first suspension in school. So rather than suspend the student, I'll be working with them around the issue or the behaviour that has caused them to come into my world, and then looking at how to restore the relationship back with that teacher into that classroom so that they can be reintegrated rather than continue on a cycle of suspensions that may result in exclusion or whatever else.
I didn't understand what it would be at all, so the first day was a bit tricky to kind of comprehend how I would utilise it in my practice, being a youth worker, in the sense of the very formalised meetings, kind of working out that if there are non-negotiables, do we do this, and if they participate, do they get to come back in, all that kind of stuff, but then understanding that sometimes a young person doesn't necessarily want to continue, and knowing that, okay, well, this is only for people who are actually wanting to engage. So once I kind of got my head around that, I thought definitely can utilise it. In my practice, I probably won't use the formal stuff. One, we wouldn't have time with the amount that we would probably need to have, but the informal stuff, I want to get a lanyard made up so that if it works like I think it's going to work, and we can restore that harm that's been done, it will result in being able to have more time, because telling a young person that that's a practice that we're going to use is going to be really valuable, so that they know coming into the program that these are non-negotiables. Things can happen though, and getting them to understand and kind of owning, if they, if they do muck up, then giving the parents a call in and telling the young person to come in, but them being prepared. No young person knows what that looks like. They get called into schools all the time, and it's always for punishment. So getting them to own that they're coming into a space and it's not punishment, it's about fixing what has been done, I think would be really valuable. But in my practice, I've never prepared a young person for what that's going to look like. We always explain that kids get some chances and what have you, but at the start of the year really saying this is what restorative justice is, so that coming into a meeting there's not that, well, are you going to kick me out? Are you going to do this? And getting them to kind of own that, I think it will be really valuable. Explain from day dot what that looks like. So everyone has policies and guidelines and what have you, but young people don't know what the result is. A young person will know that they'll get 2 warnings and they'll get kicked out, but a young person doesn't know when you say, mate, you need to come in, we need to have a talk, what that talk's going to entail. They don't know if they need to fix anything. They don't know that, and I think if a young person knows that, it's not going to stop them from making mistakes, but it's going to prepare them so they know what they have to do. So you're not really asking anything of a young person that they're not already knowing, so that makes a relationship fair, whereas before I don't think it was very fair to a young person to accept what they were coming into when they don't know. They don't know what that's going to look like. So I think, if you explain what restorative justice is, coming into that, they're going to know what to be prepared for, what they're in for, I think. And that's good practice. My 4th year of running the program, and I've only needed my manager to sit in on a serious matter 3 times. So I've had meetings every week with young people about things that have happened and what have you. So the informal stuff, I think, will even be able to be done more, so that I don't have to bring them all in. It can be, because that's essentially, it's not, we never punish anyway. That's not what our program's about. But if you can restore the harm, then that's going to solve the problem, so that it's you're going to grow. You're not going to keep coming and going, man, we're here again, like what's going on, how are we here again, because they don't necessarily fix that harm.
Restoring the harm also means repairing the relationship.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be best friends with
No,
them.
that's right. Yeah. So I always say to my young people, you never have to like anyone here, but you have to be civil. And so when that relationship's broken, they're not civil. So if at the end of that they can be civil, then and kind. Civil and kind are the two things that I ask of my young people.